This brief video will introduce you to formative assessments and how they are used in mastery learning. Let's begin by examining what formative assessments are. A formative assessment is a low-stake assessment, which means it's not often for a grade or it's not for a very large grade. And these assessments allow instructors to identify which specific content areas students understand and which areas students are having difficulty understanding. Instructors use this information to adjust instruction to meet students' needs. These types of assessments occur during learning, not after the students were supposed to have mastered course content. Those types of assessments are generally high stakes or summative assessments. The main difference between formative and summative assessments is why and how they are used. Let's watch a video that will show us some of these differences. Now that we know what formative assessments are and how they're different from the types of assessments we usually give in class, let's examine their role in mastery learning. The point of mastery learning is to provide each student with enough time to increase his or her opportunity to master a topic. Because every student learns differently and has different instructional needs, it is likely that some students will not master course material as quickly as others. The formative assessment identifies these students and determines what their particular problem areas are. Then the student and instructor know what the student specifically needs to work on to master the topic. There should be at least 2 formative assessments per unit in a mastery learning course. The first formative assessment is given after the initial instruction of the unit topic and determines which students have mastered the material and which students need more time. Students who have mastered the material move on to enrichment activities, while students who have not mastered the material complete corrective activities to bring them closer to the mastery level. The second formative assessment is given after students have completed corrective activities and only to those students who needed the corrective action. Both formative assessments in the unit should be similar in structure. This allows the instructor to determine the student's real gain in mastery instead of the student's ability to perform better on a multiple choice quiz instead of an essay, for example. So how do you create a good formative assessment? Well, there are 5 criteria that you should consider. The first is that the assessment should measure the unit objectives. Instructors need to make sure that all unit objectives are measured and that the assessment does not measure concepts that were not included in the unit objectives. The second criteria is that the assessment should allow for quick grading and feedback. Instructors need to choose an assessment design that can be graded immediately or before the next class meeting. Additionally, the assessment itself should be brief, no more than 20 to 30 minutes, so it does not take up too much class time that would be better spent completing enrichment or corrective activities. The third criteria is that the assessment should provide specific feedback. The instructor needs to make sure the assessment measures students' level of understanding on each individual objective, not just the student's overall knowledge of the unit as a whole. A good idea is to link each assessment question with its learning objective. The fourth criteria is that the assessment should not assume students have certain skills or knowledge outside of the course content. An essay assignment may, for example, require students to have good writing skills. A student who understands the unit material may still do poorly on an essay if he or she has poor writing skills. It's a good idea to use more standard assessments until students' skills are discovered. And the final criteria for creating a good formative assessment is that the assessment should be scored to reflect your priorities. You need to determine which parts of the assessment measure the most important unit concepts and weigh those accordingly. Now that you have a good idea about what formative assessments are and how they're used in mastery learning, the rest of this module will go over the different types of formative assessments that are available for you to use. You don't have to just use quizzes, you can be more creative. And I will attempt to guess at what some of your questions are going to be and provide some answers in the frequently asked questions page.